Good morning and happy Sunday to you. Welcome to another episode of Sundays with Sand. I am glad to have you with me this morning, and I would like for you to like my channel, to subscribe to it, invite your family and friends to subscribe to the channel, invite them to come on over on Sunday morning so they can get their week started off right as well with a Sunday devotional. And today we're going to be talking about your imagination and also focus. It's like a two-edged sword that we're going to discuss today. So let's get started. When we look at our thoughts, our thought is not limited to reality. You can envision something that does not currently exist in the present form. And sometimes you can just see yourself doing something and you're not currently doing it, but you can see yourself doing it. And I was just thinking about one time one person was talking about going on vacation, how you can envision yourself on that vacation. You can envision what clothes you're going to pack to wear because you can see yourself there and you kind of know what you're going to wear while you're there. You can see yourself doing the different things that you've planned, going out to eat, or maybe if you're going to the beach, you can see yourself sitting on the beach with your sunglasses and your big hat on and sipping your lemonade. You can just envision, you can imagine what it would be like. And so that's a loose definition of creativity, to make or bring into existence something new, to invent something with a new form. And creativity requires a degree of faith. In fact, this faith is simply a matter of first seeing things differently in your mind and then being convinced of a future potential outcome that does not exist yet. So, faith, it's the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. You haven't seen it yet, but you believe it. You can see it in your mind, and you believe that it's going to manifest. So if you want more out of life, if you want the capacity to believe God for more, then you must be prepared to do more. And there's an example that Jesus gave in Luke 17:5 when Jesus was asked by his disciples, show us how to increase our faith. And then he talked about the servant who completed his work and he did what he was told to do. So Jesus was thinking, okay, do you think he should have gotten special thanks for what was expected of him? So if we only do what we're expected to do, should we expect special thanks or something extra? Sometimes people do. They just feel like you owe it to them to give them something extra when they only did what they were expected to do in the first place. Some people have that kind of mindset. But if you plan to change your future, then don't set your mind on things or people or circumstances that are smaller than where you want to go or where you see yourself or where you desire to be. You can't think small. If you want to do large things and really make something out of life, you can't be thinking small and just looking at things that are smaller than where you want to go or be. So you have to replace that small thinking with a clear vision of that bigger picture and what that bigger picture looks like. You can't think about the grasshopper and think with that grasshopper mentality that's where you are, and you see other folks as giants and see yourself as the grasshopper. So you're going to stay back there with the grasshoppers. That's how you're thinking. So God was planning a vision in Abraham's mind when he told him in Genesis 13, when he was telling him all the territory that he was given, and he told him to walk in every direction and just visualize his legacy. And he said that everywhere the sand was, he would have that many descendants. For every grain of sand, he would have a descendant. That's a lot. That you got to really think big to think about all of those descendants. But he was planting that vision in Abraham's mind. So our ability to harness our imagination determines whether life's opportunities are going to shrink or expand. What are you thinking? What are you imagining for yourself? Albert Einstein said that I am enough of an artist to draw freely upon my imagination. Imagination is more than knowledge. Knowledge is limited. Imagination encircles the world. Because, your knowledge is your knowledge, how much you know. But you can imagine all kinds of things. I can imagine that I'm sitting in Paris, France right now. And I can just see myself over there with the Eiffel Tower. But I'm right here in Pleasant Grove, just imagining myself over there in Paris. So you can imagine a whole lot of things. So Oswald Chambers proclaimed that imagination was the greatest gift of God next to salvation because it allows you to see yourself in the throne room of God. Wow. What an imagination. Think about all the things you can imagine and where you can see yourself out of this, whatever particular situation you're going through. You can imagine yourself and see yourself on the other side of it. We need to purpose to think inspired thoughts from God himself as he expresses his will through our mind. Ask God to enlarge your capacity to think, to be able to take the limits off. We have a limitless God. And see, we're limited him in our mind. But we need to take the limits off because he's limited. Limitless. Let me make sure I say that right. Yeah, because I don't want y'all to get confused. He is limitless. Our God is limitless. So like I said, we need to ask God to enlarge our capacity, to give us the ability to see in our mind the seed of massive potential he has planned in your heart. Your vision will become clear only when you look into your heart. The life and reality you are experiencing are a reflection of the thoughts you are thinking. This is why you are told in Psalms to guard your heart above all else, for it determines the course of your life. The power of your thoughts translates into our ability to focus, and it's focus that wields the greatest power. The number one thing that keeps people from realizing their goals, maximizing their potential, and fulfilling their purpose is focus. Wherever you place your focus, the rest of your mind, your talents, your abilities, your emotions, it's all going to follow where you focus. So you have to really be careful about what you're focusing on. So when you look at the example of the race car driver, when they are being taught to drive the race cars, you know how, they're speeding around the track. And sometimes they spin out and they start spinning around. So when they're training them, they tell them to not look at the wall, because they don't want to hit the wall because they're spinning around and they're trying to get control of the car. But if you focus on the wall, they tell the driver, you focus on the wall, you know what? You're going to end up hitting the wall. So basically, they have to see themselves as they spin out and where they want to go, and they look down the track and see where they want to end up. They need to have their focus there. And then ultimately, that's where they're going to end up. They'll be able to get that car out of the spin and end up on the track where they focused on. That's where they saw themselves. But if they focus on the wall, then they're going to hit the wall. Just like when you focus on the pothole, when you're driving down the road, you see the pothole coming up. But instead of you actually looking at the path you're going to take around the pothole, you looking at the pothole. But you say you're going to miss the pothole because you're going to go around it. But you're focusing on the wrong thing. So you know what you do? Bop, you end up in the pothole. Yeah. So just think about, you got to focus. You have to focus. Focus is the key to getting in and out of life spins with success and precision. People who focus on what they want to get, they get exactly what they want. And people who focus on what they don't want, then they get exactly what they don't want. Because that's what they've been focusing on. So if you focus on all the problems, the hurdles, the walls, the obstacles, all the stuff that you're going through, then you just keep getting more of that. So it's not what's happening to you now or what has happened to you in the past that determines who you become, but it's your focus on that determines that. It's the meaning and significance that you give to every occurrence that determines its influence upon your life. Because y'all, sometimes stuff, it just ain't that deep. You know, sometimes people just be all bent out of shape, just having a hissy fit. And I be like, oh, come on, y'all. Really, it ain't that deep. It is not that deep. Your faith focuses on God and not the circumstances. And yes, sometimes people might be in a real fix and you might think, whew, but don't focus on that. You need to focus on God and not what you're going through, because he's bigger than all of that. He is bigger than whatever it is you're going through. Focus will determine your future. So that's why Paul talks so much about focusing his mind on the task set before him. There is uncommon, unstoppable power in setting your mind on Christ, on things above, and on the high calling set before you. Paul stated in his letter to the Philippians that he had his eye on the goal. So that's what we need to really focus on. Whatever we focus on today, you give that thing permission to exist tomorrow. Focus on your dream, your future, your goals, your vision. Focus on where you want to be and not where you came from. Let me say that again. Focus on where you want to be and not where you came from. Because you don't have to stay there. It doesn't matter where you came from. Focus on where you're going. Focus on what you expect to acquire and what you wish to do, not on what you do not have and what you have not done. Not on what you do not have and what you have not done. You're going to focus on what you're going to do, what's coming up in the future. Focus on your healing and not your sickness. Focus on your deliverance and not that detrimental situation. See yourself delivered out of it. See yourself on the other side. Focus on what remains and not what was lost. Focus on wearing those skinny jeans that you used to get into. Don't focus on that weight you gained. Okay, saying don't focus on that. Focus on those jeans you're going to get into. Come on now, somebody. Look, we got to work on that one. I got to work on that one. Dream on how different your life can be, and then wake up and focus on making it happen so you can live the life of your dreams. Think about it only enough to formulate a plan. You got to formulate a plan and figure out what you're going to do in the natural while God adds his supernatural. Talk about it long enough so that you can just motivate yourself to act. Now, don't just keep talking and talking and not doing anything. You got to do something. You got to put your faith into action. It's an action word. So, motivate yourself to get going. Focus makes your faith unshakable. Focus eliminates distraction. And it's quintessential to discipline, which always is the precursor to success and prosperity. If you don't want to see something in your future, then don't focus on it today. If that's not what you want to see, don't be focusing on it, because I told you, whatever you focus on, that's what's going to happen. So you got to train your mind to focus on the positive and have positive outcomes. I was just telling somebody the other day, I was like, see, y'all, I see the glass half full all the time. I don't never see it half empty. You got to be positive and you got to think the best. I don't like when people be negative Nellies all the time. I always got something negative to say, never anything positive. But you got to focus on the positive. Paul wrote to the Corinthians, it was God who kept us focused on him uncompromised. And that was 2 Corinthians 1 and 12. And David said, "Oh God, God of our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, keep this generous spirit alive forever in these people always. Keep their hearts set firmly in you. And give my son an uncluttered and focused heart." 1 Chronicles 29 and 18. So what is God calling you to do? Focus on your calling and not your circumstances. Like I said, faith focuses on God and not the circumstances. So you focus on your calling of whatever it is that God is calling you to do. That's what you focus on. And don't worry about how it's going to get done. If he called you to do it, hey, then you got a way to do it. Because he's not going to call you to do it and then not make the way for you to do it. Focus on what you want, not what you don't want. Do not allow anything or anyone to alter your focus. Because, people will do that. They'll be like, girl, you can't do that. Girl, why are you trying to do that? Well, don't even listen. Don't even listen. Talk to the left because you ain't right. Because what you are saying is not right. My God said I could do this. I'm listening to God, not to you. So you just got to be able to believe in God and not let other people tell you stuff. Don't let nobody alter your focus if you know that's what God told you to do. Our thoughts create our reality. Where we put our focus is the direction we tend to go. Peter McWilliams said that. Keep your eyes straight ahead. Ignore all sideshow distractions. Watch your step, and the road will stretch out smooth before you. Look neither right nor left. Leave evil in the dust. Let them eat your dust. Proverbs 4:24 through 27. Focus on what God has told you to do. Don't be distracted. And think the right things in your mind. Imagine yourself where you want to be. Don't look to where you came from. Look to where you're going. You got this. You got it. I am one and only one. I can't do all things, but I can do some things. That I can do. I ought to do it. And by the grace of God, I will do it. You all go out and have yourselves an amazingly awesome week. And I will see you next Sunday.